The wind howls across shattered ice, burying half a massive frame beneath the snow. A dying king, a lifeless heir in a sterile, freezing hospital room. The cold is absolute. The emotional exhaustion, it's just crushing. We're looking at two entirely separate worlds here. One of merciless blizzards and feral beasts, the other of unforgiving hospital corridors and high society cruelty. But in both of these places, the most powerful beings in existence are standing right at the edge of the abyss. Two alphas, both broken, both completely stripped of their undeniable power. And in the dark, waiting quietly in the absolute silence, are the shattered, discarded souls who will ultimately save them.
A blind Omega, dragging an alpha king through a blizzard. The sheer impossibility of this image perfectly captures the raw, suffocating tension of what we're witnessing. Any normal Omega would have absolutely fled from an injured alpha radiating killing instincts. But he doesn't. He kneels in the snow, touches the freezing skin, and tells the strongest wolf in the territory the cold, undeniable truth. This isn't your standard story of the strong shielding the weak. This is the exact moment the biological hierarchy completely collapses, in the freezing snow. Section 1. Subverting the Omegaverse tropes, breaking the alpha myth. The alpha is traditionally the protector, right? The undeniable shield, the impenetrable fortress who commands the room and controls the entire territory. But what actually happens when that fortress just crumbles? Notice the raw contrast here. In the traditional hierarchy, you have the dominant alpha protecting the submissive, helpless Omega. It's expected. It's biological law. But the subversion we're seeing is a brutal, unforgiving reality. A broken, dying alpha finds their ultimate salvation in a deeply scarred Omega. Their biology, their immense wealth, their raw physical power, the massive empires they built with their bare hands. Literally, none of it matters when they're bleeding out on shattered stone or watching their lineage turn to ash in a sterile ward. Section 2. A modern medical miracle. The hospital corridor. We trade the howling blizzard for the deafening, terrifying silence of a delivery room. Alpha Riker Coleman commands entire boardrooms. He builds empires. But right now, he stands entirely shattered. His son has been born lifeless. The medical team is completely motionless. The blue, sterile chaos of failure surrounds them. And then, a primal instinct just awakens. A low-ranking nurse steps forward, breaking protocol, pushing right past the shouting doctors demanding he step back. He lifts the tiny, cold body to his chest, releasing his focused, intense pheromones. "Breathe," I whispered, my voice trembling with desperation. "Please, little one, just breathe for me." He risks his license, his freedom, his entire livelihood to save this child, to bring him back alive. He begged the universe for a breath, and the universe answered. A tiny gasp. The blue fades to pink. An impossible miracle. It defies everything society expects of his biology. A split second where raw instinct overrules everything. But who actually is this savior? Parker's emotional scars run impossibly deep. Unclaimed and deemed completely unworthy by 26. Abandoned by his own parents at 16, the very second he presented. And later, ruthlessly driven out of the Coleman home by a jealous wife's cruel threats of scandal. Forced onto a single mattress on the floor in a dingy apartment, working a grueling night shift grocery job just to scrape by. He is exhausted, completely, utterly isolated. A nobody by society's harsh, unforgiving standards. Section 3. The Winter Fantasy Rescue. Blood in the Snow. We shift back to the merciless blizzard. The territory is being hunted by a feral monster, and all for King Ronan Vale lies completely paralyzed by black poison. Pain drags through his massive body with every single breath. He's defeated, waiting for the dark to finally consume his vision. Until an unlikely savior appears out of the absolute dark, Moonborn. A legendary, nearly extinct Omega bloodline capable of calming feral wolves, historically hunted and heavily controlled by greedy packs. This is Soul's incredibly dangerous secret. It's the exact reason he hides completely alone in a cabin in the northern mountains. Because packs are unbelievably dangerous for an Omega like him. His very existence is a threat to the established order. Look at the striking, fateful parallels between these two crises. The Alpha's crisis pitted against the Omega's miracle. Alan Coleman, the heir, born lifeless. King Ronan Vale, the absolute strongest in the territory, paralyzed by poison. In both of these unforgiving worlds, highly trained doctors and elite, hardened warriors completely failed. Yet, it's Parker's focused pheromones that stimulate breathing,
and Soul's gentle Moonborn touch and herbal knowledge that pull an Alpha King back from the edge. The supposedly weakest, most vulnerable characters in the narrative, they're the ones performing miracles.
Section 4. Healing Wounded Intimacy. Fireplace Warmth.
Slowly, the howling wind and the sterile panic of the hospital begin to fade away. We move into quiet, incredibly intimate spaces. The soft crackle of a mountain fireplace as herbs are ground in steady hands. The gentle sway of a rocking chair in a beautifully lit nursery. This timeline tracks the deep emotional healing shared by both of our stories. It starts in hours, the desperate protocol-breaking rescue in the snow and the delivery room. Then days of forced isolation. Soul calmly changing bandages while Ronan watches him from the bed. Parker soothing baby Alan when absolutely no one else can, while Riker closely observes this unmistakable bond forming. Weeks later, the arrival of a dangerous external threat. And finally, months later, the ultimate defiance claiming. It shows how shared trauma, and not just biological destiny, builds a fiercely possessive romance. My old pack punished me for rejecting an alpha. Saul's clouded white eyes are a permanent scar of absolute defiance. He is physically blind, but he sees the pure cruelty of the world clearer than anyone. He's emotionally scarred, quietly kind, but never, ever weak. He stopped expecting kindness years ago, choosing the freezing, crushing isolation of the mountains over submitting to a monster. But once these alphas are actually saved, they cannot let their saviors go. When Parker's painful, abandoned past is cruelly exposed at the dinner table, Riker's incredibly dangerous alpha energy fully takes over. I don't give a damn about your past. My world's standards are garbage and you're not leaving. He utterly rejects the high society that broke the man standing right in front of him. He fiercely demanded, he practically begged him to stay.
Section 5. Redefining the Alpha Bond. Two Broken Souls.
We reach the absolute climax of both of these narratives, the moment where these kings of their respective worlds realize what truly actually matters. They weaponize their immense, terrifying power not to dominate, not to conquer, but to fiercely, ruthlessly protect the deeply wounded Omegas who stitch their shattered souls back together. They have to face the ultimate threat. A feral, infected wolf breaches Saul's mountain cabin, splintering the wood and cracking the stone. But Saul steps directly in front of the terrifying beast, his moonborn silver light washing over the entire room, calming the feral rage with just a single touch. Meanwhile, in the modern world, Nellie forces a brutal custody trial, trying to rip baby Alan away, while lawyers tear apart Parker's very right to exist as a parent. But the judge witnesses Alan's immediate, unbreakable trust in Parker's arms. The Omega's gentle strength pacifies the absolute greatest monsters, reshaping everything we know about power. The Alpha King finally returns to his royal court, alive. But he is not alone. Whispers spread instantly as the blind Omega walks right beside him. When a noble dares to question this stray from the freezing mountains, the room goes completely dark. Ronan descends from his throne. Every instinct in the hall screams danger. The next person who insults him dies. The most feared alpha on the continent, radiating possessive, terrifying power, lowering himself completely willingly to press a claiming kiss to an Omega's hand in front of the entire court. I wasn't nobody. I was somebody's everything. This is Parker's beautiful, quiet realization as he walks out of that courtroom, finally, legally recognized, holding his child, standing right beside his mate. This right here is the beating emotional core of these stories. Two broken people completely discarded by the world, slowly becoming each other's absolute reason to survive. The Alpha looking at the Omega, wrapping them in warmth, and declaring what is mine. When the most powerful Alphas are brought to their knees, does true strength actually belong to the Omegas who put them back together? It forces us to ask, in the modern Omegaverse, is the greatest power actually found in dominance or in the quiet resilience of those who survived the cold? WildMane uploads BL stories daily. Subscribe for more emotional BL stories and comment what type of BL story you want next.